Hello and welcome to this course in which you're going to be learning about how you can develop different end-to-end generative AI applications with the help of Python programming. Are you someone who is interested to build different generative AI applications with the help of Python programming and different LLM models that are freely available for you to use? In this course, I will teach you how to build end-to-end LLM applications with the help of LangChain, Python, OpenAI, Bard, and many more different LLM models that are freely available for you to use. And throughout this course, we are going to be creating dozens of applications with the help of generative AI and Python. So if you are someone who is interested in learning about how to create your own generative AI applications with the help of Python programming language, then this course is perfect for you. You're going to be creating different applications varying from chatbots to PDF to chat application. Not only that, we're going to be creating another exciting project that will be an AGI powered virtual assistant similar to Jarvis from Iron Man movie. Throughout this exciting journey, we will be creating a lots and lots of projects and understand how we can create different LLM application and monetize it online as well. So this course will be perfect whether you are looking to kickstart your career in generative AI application and kickstart your career as a freelancer who provides generative AI services. So if you are ready to embark on this exciting journey of generative AI and kickstart your career as a generative AI developer, then what are you waiting for? Click on that enroll button and get started now. I'm waiting for you on the flip side. Hello there and welcome to this lesson in which I will be covering all the generative AI application that we are going to be creating throughout this course. So I will be showcasing the final product that we are going to be creating in each lesson, and I will be showcasing the output or the final generative AI applications that we are going to be creating throughout this course. So let's get started with it. So if I just run this first application that is built using Python and Flask. So if I just run it and try to show you the final output, so basically it's an ChatGPT clone. And over here, you can see this is a very basic application that we have created, that is a ChatGPT clone. And you can see there is not much to this particular UI of this application. So you can add the UI with the help of HTML, CSS and JavaScript. I've also mentioned it in the video itself, how you can improve the UI of this particular application. But to give you a prototype or a bare bone application, here is what we have created for this particular first application, that is ChatGPT clone. So if I ask it something like what is HTML, and if I click on generate, you can see this is a dynamic output that we get. Now you can see we have ChatGPT response, and which says HTML hypertext markup language is a standardized system for creating and formatting documents on the World Wide Web. So here is the output that we get with the help of OpenAI's GPT API, Python and Flask. So if I ask something else like what is Python, you can see it will be able to give us the output, that is Python is an interpreted high-level general purpose programming language created by Mr. Rudo van Rossum in year 1991. So this was the first ever application that we are going to be creating in this particular course, that is ChatGPT clone with the help of Python and Flask. Let's move to the next application, that is text to image application. So this is the second application that we're going to be creating in this course, that is text to image. So if we give it a prompt, like here I have a pre-written prompt that says a person coding on a laptop sitting on a sofa and TV is on in the background. And if I click on generate, it will be generating a stunning looking image with the help of the text prompt that we are providing. So in this particular code, we are using the DALI 3, which is a text to image API for OpenAI. With the help of it, we can give it an text input and it will be generating an image for us. So you can see this is a person it has generated for us, that is coding on a laptop, and you can see it is a stunning looking image which is very realistic. So the UI for this application is also a prototype. You can improve the UI as per your needs and as you want, so you can add the UI elements on your own as well. So this was just to create a prototype of text to image app, and you can see this is the final output of this image. So this was the second application that we're going to be creating throughout this course. Let's move to the next application. So this is the third application that we are going to be creating throughout the course, that is DALI 3 powered text to image generator with the help of Streamlit. So previously we have created this particular application with the help of Flask, but in this case we have created it with the help of Streamlit. And over here you can see that we will be able to select the image size as well. So we can create an image which is of size 256 by 256, 512 by 512 and 1024 by 1024 image size. So this is option that we have added with the help of Streamlit. And another thing that we can do is here is a drop down to select from DALL-E 2 and DALL-E 3 models. So we can select from that as well. So if we provide a prompt over here, so if I add the same prompt over here that we added previously and try to generate the image with the help of DALL-E 2, you will be able to see that the quality of the image will be quite different, and drastic change you will able to see in the generated image. So if I just try to generate the image, you can see this is the output that we get with the help of DALL-E 2, and we also have a download button. So if I click on download, it will be downloading the image for me on my local system. If I try to create the same image with the help of DALL-E 3, so for that I have to select the resolution size to 1024 by 1024 and select the DALL-E 3 model, try to generate the image. Now you will be able to see the good looking image that is possible with the help of the DALL-E 3 model. It might take few seconds to generate the image for us. So let's wait for it to generate, and we will be also able to download the image. So you can see this is a person sitting in front of laptop coding and sitting on the sofa, and the TV is on in the background. And if I click on download, it will be downloading the image for me on my system. So this is the final image that we get. So we are going to be creating this application and this is going to be the third application of our course. After that, we are going to be creating another application that will be GPT powered WhatsApp bot that will be able to interact with us with the help of the GPT API and give the queries or the output similar to ChatGPT. And this WhatsApp chatbot will be running on the cloud as well, and we're going to be understanding how we can deploy it on AWS cloud to run it 24/7. So if we turn off our system as well, in that case also our bot will be running 24/7 on the cloud, which will be using the EC2 instance, and we are going to be also covering the deployment part of it. So you can see the demo of this particular WhatsApp chatbot. Next, let me ask what is Java programming. And if I hit enter, so now it should give us the output using the GPT API. And now you can see that we are getting the output with the help of our GPT API. After completing the WhatsApp chatbot application, we are going to be moving forward and creating a Telegram bot that will be also similar to WhatsApp chatbot, but it will be working on Telegram. And we are also going to be deploying it on EC2 instance so that we can close our system and we don't need to run our system 24/7 for this bot to be live. So we are going to be covering that in that particular section. So you can see the demo of the Telegram bot now. So if we ask who is the founder of Apple Inc. Let's see if it is able to give us the output. Now you can see the founder of Apple Inc. is Steve Jobs along with his business partner, Steve Wozniak, and so on. So it is now able to give us the output using the GPT API. Once we are done with that, we are going to be starting with the introduction to LangChain, and in that particular section, we are going to be creating a milestone project that will be website summarizing application with the help of LangChain, Python, and OpenAI API. So with the help of it, we are going to be summarizing the entire web page with the help of it. So that will be a milestone project. You can see the application in action now. So if I save this, try to execute it now and try to get a new URL from the internet. So let's try to get this particular URL from here. Try to copy it, add it in here, hit enter. Let's wait for it to summarize the entire text. And now you can see it has summarized the entire text for us. So you can see over here, JavaScript is a programming language and so on and so forth. So we go back over here, you can see here is the entire thing that the entire block contains. So it summarizes the entire thing for us. And once we are done with that particular application, we are going to be moving further and creating a PDF to chat application with the help of Python programming, LangChain, Streamlit, and all the technologies that we have learned through. And after that, we are going to be creating another awesome application that will be PDF to chat, in which we are going to be uploading a PDF and creating a custom LLM model based on the PDF knowledge, and we will be able to interact with it in the form of a chatbot. So it will be able to answer different queries related to the chatbot that we can ask from the PDF, and it will be able to give us the output based on that. So we are going to be creating this particular application by implementing all the things that we have learned throughout the course, like LangChain, OpenAI API, Python, Streamlit, and all. So that will be a really good project if you are looking to learn about how you can create your own generative AI apps. You can see the application in action now and try to upload the PDF again. Open this PDF, try to ask the same question again. What is Python? Hit enter. Let's wait for it to fetch the output from our PDF. Now you can see Python is a popular, versatile, free programming language that is used for a wide range of applications, including data processing, automation, machine learning. It was originally developed in the 90s by Rudo van Rossum and has gained popularity due to its collaborative nature, powerful data capabilities, and simplicity. So you can see it is able to fetch the data from our PDF. After that, we are going to be creating another exciting application that will be a ChatGPT clone with the help of Gradio, in which we can provide the input to the user through the user with the help of an keyboard input, and it will be having a stunning looking visual appearance for this particular application, where we are going to be taking the input in the form of a chat. So similar to how we chat on Facebook, Instagram, or WhatsApp, similar to that, it will be having an UI for that. So if you are excited to build this particular application, you can see that in action now. So this is how the UI looks like, and we have the chatbot interaction over here. So after adding the prompt inside this text box, it will be returning the prompts or the output in this chatbot box over here. And over here, if we click and provide a prompt as how are you, and if we provide this question as an input, and if we click on the send button over here, you can see this is the send button, and if we click on it over here, you can see this is the output that we get in the chatbot section, that we have provided this particular input, that is how are you, I'm doing well, thank you, what about you, questions to this particular chatbot. So over here you can see what is Python, so it is able to give us the answer, and this is the chat format that I was talking about initially. So like we do chat in our different chat applications, similarly we are getting the output over here like a chat interface. And after creating all these massive projects throughout this course, we are going to be creating the last project that will be the most exciting one, a virtual assistant similar to Jarvis from Iron Man, that will be powered by GPT API, and it will be able to interact with us in a voice format. So we will be able to give it the input in the form of voice, and it will be also replying us in the form of speech. So that's going to be an amazing application by the end of this course that you will be creating. So you can see that in action now.
Hello there. I am Jarvis 3.0, an advanced artificial intelligence assistant developed utilizing Python programming language, machine learning, natural language processing, neural network integrated with IoT, robotics, and powered by OpenAI's GPT-3 language model. As a genuine AGI-powered assistant, I possess a plethora of capabilities and features that are available to assist you. Let me show you what I'm capable of.
Hello, I'm Jarvis.
Jarvis, remember that?
What should I remember?
We have to go for shopping and get oats and milk for tomorrow's breakfast.
You said me to remember that we have to go for shopping and get oats and milk for tomorrow's breakfast.
Jarvis, do you know anything?
You told me to remember that we have to go for shopping and get oats and milk for tomorrow's breakfast.
Jarvis, what is the time now?
The current time is 3 hours 8 minutes and 56 seconds.
Jarvis, how is the weather today?
Weather in New York City is like temperature -2 degrees Celsius. Weather is clear sky.
Jarvis, who is the founder of Apple company?
Steve Jobs is the founder of Apple.
Jarvis, who is the founder of Microsoft company?
The founder of Microsoft is Bill Gates.
Jarvis, what is the calculation 5 plus 10?
The calculation 5 plus 10 is equal to 15.
So you can see it is also now able to give us the answers to mathematical calculation by just providing the command to it. And it is also using the wake word as well. So if I don't use the wake word, in that case, it will not reply to us or it will not disturb us. So we can use it similar to the Alexa or Google Assistant, and we have added the functionality of the wake word as well. So you can see how helpful it is to use the wake word, and unless we use the wake word, so it will not respond to us unless and until we use the wake word. Jarvis, write a tweet about Python programming language that can get a lot of traction on Twitter.
Python programming language is the ultimate way to unlock your potential and unleash your creativity. Hashtag coding, hashtag programming, hashtag Python.
So you can see now it is also able to provide the features of ChatGPT as well. So we can create different things, and we can take the help of Jarvis AI assistant and unlock the potential that it has, and we can use it in our day-to-day life and provide the commands with our voice, and it will be able to reply us with the answers from GPT-3, and it will work similar to ChatGPT, but instead of giving the command in text format, we're going to be giving the commands in voice format with the help of Jarvis AI interface. Jarvis, write an essay on pollution of about 300 words.
Pollution is a serious and rampant environmental issue that affects the entire planet. It is defined as the contamination of air, water, or soil by the introduction of harmful substances or potential toxins. In recent years, there has been an increase in the amount of pollution due to human activities such as burning fossil fuels, manufacturing processes, and agricultural production. Pollution manifests itself in three distinct forms: air pollution, water pollution, and land pollution. Air pollution is created when pollutants like carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen oxides are released into the atmosphere and affect the quality of the air. These pollutants can cause respiratory illnesses, heart diseases, and cancer. Water pollutants such as industrial waste, pesticides, and fertilizers can contaminate. Jarvis, who is the founder of Microsoft company?
The founder of Microsoft is Bill Gates.
Jarvis, what would be your recommendation for iOS versus Android? Which one should I go with?
My recommendation is to go with the OS that best suits your needs. There are many great features in both iOS and Android, and each have their own benefits. Ultimately, you should choose the system that offers the features you need and is most compatible with the other devices and software you use.
Jarvis, I want any one of the answer. I want you to pick either iOS or Android. So just give me one pick that you would like me to purchase.
I recommend the Apple iPhone 11 Pro Maximum. It's a powerful device with a large display and great camera capabilities.
Okay, thank you so much, Jarvis.
You're welcome.
Jarvis, I am planning to go to Dubai. So can you recommend me some best practices or anything you have for a recommendation for me that where should I go and stay over there, or if any places that I can visit? So just recommend me that.
Dubai is a great city for tourists and has a lot to offer. Here are some best practices and recommendations for your visit. 1. Make sure you have the correct documents needed for entry into Dubai, such as visa and passport. 2. Familiarize yourself with the country's culture and customs before arriving. Be aware of the dress code, religious sites, and general behaviors. 3. Make sure to plan your accommodations in advance, as well as transportation options such as taxis, public transportation, or car rentals. 4. It is also important to research attractions ahead of time and budget for any activities you want to take part in.
Jarvis, go offline. So after watching all these different applications that we're going to be creating throughout this course, I hope you are really excited to embark on this journey with generative AI apps with the help of Python programming language. So what are you waiting for? Click on that Enroll button and get started now. And I'm really excited to begin this journey of teaching you how to build generative AI apps with the Python programming language. See you on the other side. Hello there. In this particular video, we are going to be setting up our development environment for our Python course. So for that, first of all, we will open any browser, and over there we're going to be searching for python.org, which is the official website of Python. So we will just go over here, and you can see this is the official website of Python programming. So on this website, you can find out a lot of things related to Python. So we can download the latest version of Python from here. You can also find the documentation of Python. There is also the community of Python. There are some success stories, some news and events. So you can go through this website to get more knowledge about Python programming and what all things are available. So for now, let's download the latest version of Python. So for downloading it, we just need to hover over this download section, and you will get this option for downloading it for Windows. So we are on our Windows system, so it is showing this thing. So we can just click on this Python 3.11 and it will start downloading it onto our system. So it will take few seconds. So if you want to download an older version of Python, then you can click on all releases and you can scroll down here. You can find different releases of Python, and you can download the older version of Python as well from here. So you can just go through the entire website to get more knowledge about these things. And you can also get the documentation for Python over here. So we can click on Python docs. So you can see this is the entire documentation of Python. So if you want a particular functionality, or if you want to know about a particular function, you can just do a quick search over here and you will get the results. After downloading Python, we also need a code editor that we are going to be using. So in our case, we are going to be using the VS Code code editor, which is developed by Microsoft. So we will just search here VS Code, and we will get this first result, that is Visual Studio Code. We'll click on this first link and it will give us the option to download it for Windows. So you can see that code editing refined, and we click on this download. So it will start downloading it onto our system. So you can go through this website and learn more about VS Code IDE. So you can use VS Code IDE if you are working on multiple programming languages. So it supports multiple programming languages as well as technologies, and it has a marketplace for all the extension we can download for VS Code, and we can use them inside our VS Code to simplify our programming needs. So you don't need to install multiple IDEs or development environments for your programming needs. You can do it all in one place using the VS Code IDE or the code editor. So VS Code supports all these programming languages, as you can see here, and you can also download different extensions for these programming languages, and you can customize all these things as per your requirement and your development needs. So now the download is completed. Let's try installing the Python first. So we will double click on this Python exe file, and it will open this Python setup for us. So in here, we just need to select this checkbox which says add Python exe to path. Otherwise, the Python command will not work in our computer. So after that, we will click on customize installation. Over here, you can see by default, all the checkbox are selected. We will click on next. And in here, we will just select installation Python 3.11 for all users. So we will just select this checkbox over here and we will click on install. And it will ask for the administrative permissions. We will click on yes, and it will start installing it onto our system. So it will take few seconds to install Python on our system. And once the installation is completed, we can open command prompt and try to run the Python command to see whether Python is successfully installed on our system or not. And on the Python website, you will get the latest version of Python. So right now we have downloaded Python 3.11. If you're watching this video in the future, in that case, the version might be different. So you can easily install the latest version of Python. And also, the latest version of Python doesn't support all the libraries that are available. So in some cases, you need to install the older version of Python to get the support of all the libraries. So just keep in mind that if you're getting any kind of errors or issues while installing any library or using them in your code, in that case, you can go to an older version of Python and use that instead of the latest version of Python. So the latest version of Python has some bugs and issues that the team is still working on. So in the meantime, you can use the older version of Python to get your work done. So now you can see that the setup was successfully installed and Python is now installed on our system. We will just click on this close button, and in here we are going to be opening a command prompt. So for that we will type here cmd, and it will open a command prompt over here, and we will just type here Python, and we will add hyphen version, and if I hit enter, you will get this Python version that we have installed on our system. So if we just type here Python, in that case it will open the interpreter. So this is the Python interpreter that we can use to give some commands. So let me just try to print out something. If I do print hello Python 101, and after that if we hit enter, so it will print out this line for us. So now we have successfully installed Python on our system. We will just type here exit, and we will hit enter, so it will exit out of this Python interpreter. So after that we are going to be installing this VS Code IDE onto our system. So we will just double click on this exe file, and it will start the installation process for us. So we will just click on I accept the agreement, we'll click on next, we will click on next, and we will click on install. So it will start installing it onto our system. So after the installation is completed for the VS Code, if we right click, we will get this option to open with code. So if we click over here, so it will open the VS Code IDE inside our folder. So you can see inside the Python 101 folder, we have the VS Code IDE. So we will just click on I trust this, and we will just provide the permissions, and after that we will get this kind of interface. So after that we have successfully installed the VS Code IDE onto our system. After that we also need to install an extension for Python. So for that we will just click on this extensions here, and we will just type here Python, and we will get this first result, which is Python IntelliSense. We will just click over here, and on my system I have already installed it. So you will get an option over here to install it. So you just need to click on install, and it will start installing it onto your system. So it will take a few minutes to install, and the Python extension will be available on your VS Code IDE, and after that we can easily run the Python code inside our VS Code IDE. So this is how we need to set up our development environment for Python development, and we have now successfully installed all the required software onto our system for our Python development. So that was it for this particular video. Let's move to the next video of our course.
Hello there. In this particular lesson, we are going to be setting up our development environment for our course. So for that, first of all, we need to install this particular piece of software named VS Code onto our Mac. So for that, first of all, we will open our preferred browser. So in my case, I have opened Safari. If you want, you can open any other browser like Chrome, Firefox, or any other. And over there, we're going to be searching for VS Code. And if I hit enter, so we will get this first result on the Google about Visual Studio Code. It is going to be a code editor, or you can also consider it as an IDE, and you can see the further details related to what is Visual Studio Code over here. So Visual Studio Code, also commonly referred to VS Code, is a source code editor made by Microsoft, and we can use it on different platforms like Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, and it offers a lot of features into this particular piece of code editor that includes debugging, syntax highlighting, intelligent code completion, snippets, and code refactoring, and much more. So this is going to be a one-stop solution for any programmer to consider this particular code editor as their primary code editor for developing on different platforms or different programming languages as well. So let's say you work on different programming languages like C, C++, Java, and Python. So you don't need to install multiple IDEs for each and every programming language. For C, you don't need to install a particular specific IDE for that. Similarly, for Java, we have JetBeans and other IDEs. So you don't need to install multiple IDEs and get cluttered on your desktop. Instead of that, what you can do is you can install the VS Code IDE onto your system, and we can use that for our development purposes. So for that, what we will do is, for downloading this particular thing, we will just go to the Visual Studio Code website, and over here you can see further details related to the VS Code. So it is a code editing refined, and you can see it's absolutely free of cost, so you don't need to pay anything to use this particular IDE. So what's better than having a free open source code editor like VS Code for absolutely free of cost? So you can see we can download it for Mac. So if I scroll down a little bit, you can see what all features it offers. It offers IntelliSense, run and debug, built-in Git, and different extensions that it offers. So there is a specific extension market that is available in VS Code, from where we can get different extension for different programming languages like C, C++, Java, and JavaScript, and much more. And you can see that it also offers built-in Git, so you don't need to have another tab open for Git and running the Git commands over there. Instead of that, you can just use the built-in Git that is available in the VS Code itself. If we scroll down a little bit, you can see we can have the IntelliSense, which will be providing us with the syntax highlighting, auto-completing engine with IntelliSense, and much more. So if I keep scrolling, you can see print, debug, statements, and much more are available. So we can do the debugging of a particular piece of code in any other programming language, whether it be C, C++, or Java. There is Git commands built in to this particular VS Code itself. And if I scroll down, you can see extensible and customizable. So we can add much more features, and we can add different extension for different programming languages, and it supports almost all the programming languages out there. You can see Python, C++, then we can use Vue.js and much more. So you can see Golang, and all others are available over here. So almost all the programming languages or frameworks are supported by VS Code. If we keep scrolling, you can see we can deploy with confidence and ease with the help of the Microsoft Azure. So if you want to deploy and host your React, Angular, Vue, or Node, or Python web apps, in that case, you can use the Microsoft Azure platform for hosting them. You can see Visual Studio Code is available for JavaScript, Python, and you can also take a look at many other programming languages in the marketplace that are supported by VS Code. So almost you can see all the programming languages are listed down over here. Markdown files are also supported, TypeScript, C++, C, JSON file is supported, PowerShell, HTML, CSS, C Sharp, PHP, YAML, and much more. And after that, you can see that it is supported by Windows, Linux, and Mac. So it is a platform independent software that we can use on different platforms as well. So let's say you have multiple setups for your development needs, like you have a Windows system, Linux, and Mac. So if you want to switch between your systems, in that case also you can run the VS Code on different operating systems as well. So whether you're working on Windows, Linux, and Mac, you will be having the flexibility to work with VS Code, and it is supported on all these three major platforms. If you scroll down, you can see what are the new feature and what is coming up. So you can get the details over here. You can get the insider build instead. So if you are interested in the insider builds, so you will be getting some other features that is not available in the regular version of the VS Code. So if you want, you can download the insider version of the VS Code as well, but it will be having some bugs here and there. And you can see also it is available for Apple Silicon, which is the M1 chips. So I am using a M2 Mac Mini. So in that also I can use this particular VS Code. So if I scroll up a little bit, and you can see download Mac Universal stable build. So we will be downloading the stable build for the VS Code, and if you just click on it, so it will be starting the download process for us. And if I just click on allow this file to be downloaded, it will be taking few seconds to download it onto a system. So if I just show you over here, you can see VS Code, and it is around 200 MB of software. So it will be downloaded really soon, and after that we will be just installing it onto our system. And for the installation process, it's quite simple. If we just double click on this app, it will be asking for the permissions. We will click on open, and you guys can see here is the Visual Studio Code window that we get. So if I just add it to the desktop too, so we will be able to see it clearly. And over here you can see here is the welcome window for the VS Code, and we have successfully installed it onto our system. So we can do all these things over here. You can see show the welcome page on startup. Okay, so this is the welcome page that we get for the VS Code. And over here you can see Visual Studio Code editing evolved, and we can create a new file over here. So let me just try to create a new file and name it as, or let's say we will be opening our Explorer, and over here I will be just creating a new folder for Python development. So let me add Python over here, and we will be creating this particular folder over here, and we will be opening this VS Code inside this particular folder. And you can see that it will be asking, do you trust this authors of the file in this folder? So we will be just accepting this thing by clicking on yes, I trust the authors, and it will be starting the VS Code inside this particular folder. You can see we are inside the Python folder that we have created. And if we want to create a new file, so we can just do command plus N, and it will be opening a new file for us. And if I just try to zoom in a little bit, so you guys will be able to clearly see what is going on over here. And if I just try to save this particular file, we will be naming it as test.py. And I will just try to minimize particular thing. And you can see, do you want to install the recommended extension for Python? So if I just click on this install, so it will be installing this particular Python extension that is available in the marketplace. You can also see the recommendation, show recommendation. If we click on it, it will be showing the recommended extension for Python, which is provided by Microsoft itself. So if I show you this particular thing, if I zoom out a little bit, you can clearly see this is the Python extension that is created by Microsoft itself. You can see it is an authorized Microsoft extension, and you can see what all features it offers. It offers IntelliSense, it offers debugging, and a lot of features. It will be also adding the support for Jupyter files. So I will recommend you to install this particular extension. So after creating this file, you will automatically be getting this particular pop-up over there. If you don't get that particular pop-up, I will be showing you the steps you need to take to go to the marketplace and install this particular extension. So if I just click on install, it will be installing it onto our system. So it will take few seconds depending on your internet speed. It will be installing it onto your system. So if you don't get this particular pop-up, you just need to click over here on this particular icon. You can see extensions icon over here, and if you just click on it, so it will be opening the extensions over here. And over here you can just search for Python, and the first result will be the official Python extension from Microsoft. So you can install this particular one, verified tick in front of the Microsoft, and you just need to install this particular extension. And apart from this, you won't be needing any other extension for our Python development. So I will just try to close this window from here, and you can see this is the welcome window for the extension that we have installed. So we have already created everything. We can create the Python environment as well if you want. So if you want to add a virtual environment, you can do that as well. So we will be talking more about the virtual environment in some other video. So for now, we will just close this particular welcome window from here, and I will be also closing this extension. If you want to get more knowledge about this particular extension, you can just go through it. This particular page, you will be getting further details related to it. So a lot of details are available over here related to this particular extension and different shortcuts that it offers and a lot of features. So you can just go through it and see what all things it offers. Once we are done with that, I will just try to close this particular window, and over here we're going to be just printing out. And after installing this particular extension, you can see that we are getting a recommendation and some code highlighting. And if I just remove this print and if I just type P, you can see it is showing some recommendation. So if I hit enter, so you can see it has automatically added the print statement for us. If I add the brackets, you can see what all parameters that we can pass in this particular function. And if I just try to add double quotes and print hello Python devs, and if I add an exclamation mark over here, and if we try to save this particular code, and you can see there is a button to run this particular code at the top right side of the window. So if I just zoom in a little bit, so you guys can clearly see the code that we have written. And if I just try to save this particular code, and you can see this is the run button that we can use to run the Python file. So if I just click on that, in the output, you can see we are getting the output as hello Python devs. So this is how you can install the VS Code IDE onto your system and set up our development environment for our Python development. So I think you guys are successfully able to run this Hello World program with the help of the VS Code that we have installed throughout this video. If you have any doubts or issues regarding installing the VS Code, So you can let me know in the Q&A section of the course. I will definitely try to help you out as soon as possible, and we will be taking a deep dive into Python in the next video itself. So I hope you guys are successfully able to install the VS Code and clearly understand the use of VS Code and the different extensions that the VS Code offers and different things related to it. So I think that was it for this particular lesson. So without further ado, let's move to the next lesson of our course.
Hello there and welcome back to the course. So in the previous video, we have seen how we can set up our development environment for the course. So in this particular lesson, we're going to be starting with setting up our first ever project that will be using the GPT-3 API with our Python code. So let's see how we can integrate the GPT's API, which is GPT-3 API, with our Python code. So let's get started with it. So first of all, we will create a new file over here that we're going to be naming as. I just try to create a file over here. So you can see I have created a new folder named Gen AI apps, in which we are going to be creating all the applications throughout the course. So first of all, I will name it as test app.py. So you can name it whatever you like. For now, we will be naming it as test app.py for now, and we will just try to close this get started page, and after that we will open our terminal. So the first step will be to install the OpenAI's API onto our Python. So for that, I will use a command that will be pip install OpenAI. So if I hit enter, it's that simple. It will be installing this particular library onto our system, which is the OpenAI's official library that we can use to access the OpenAI's API. So once we install this particular thing onto our system, we'll be opening our web browser. I'm using my Chrome web browser. Whatever browser you are using, you can add that over here and open it. And over there, we just need to search for platform.openai.com. And if we visit this particular website, so over here you can see this is the official website for OpenAI's API. So you can head towards this particular URL, that is platform.openai.com, and it will bring you to this particular page. So I have already created my account on this OpenAI's website. It is quite simple. You just need to sign up on this particular website by adding your email and your phone number, and it will be sending you an OTP or something. You just need to enter that, and that's it. And you will be getting a $5 free credit onto your account. So this account, I think the credits has been expired. So over here, I cannot see any credits available on this account because the credits has been expired. So I have another account that I will be using for the API. So I have already added some amount into my account. So you can also add your credits through settings, and over here you can say billing. So you can add some amount into your credit. So if you are an individual, you can just click on individual, add your card details, and it will be asking you for a payment of, I think, $5. So you can add minimum $5 into your OpenAI's account that you can use to fetch the data from the API. So initially, I think you will be getting the $5 free credit, so you can use that for the testing purposes. And if you feel that you want to use the GPT-4 or DALI 3 version or DALI 4, so in that case you can just add this particular amount into your account. So this was the brief overview of creating your account and getting the free credits from OpenAI. Next, we need to create an API key that we will be using in our code. So I will click on the API key section over here and create a new API key that I will name as test app.py. Now, just keep in mind that you copy this particular API key that is being created after clicking on the create button, and you will get this API key. And you can also see you won't be able to see it or view this particular API key again. So you just need to copy it and save it somewhere. So for now, what I can do is I can open my VS Code and add a comment over here by adding an hash and paste this particular API in here so that we can use it in our code further. So once we are done with that, we will go back over here and you can see that this is successfully created. Now we can click on done and you can see we have created this particular API which is already enabled. Now what we can do is You can just go to the documentation, and over there you can see further details related to the entire API of OpenAI and what all features and functions are available for this. So you can see text generation, assistance, and all that things are available over here. If we click on assistance, you can see how you can create an assistant using the OpenAI's API. For now, what we will do is we will be clicking on text generation because we are interested in that, and we can click on chat completion. So over here you can see this is a particular format or a function that is available in OpenAI's API that we can use to complete a particular chat. So the documentation has been recently updated in the last month, I think, and the entire format that we need to use has been changed. And some of the older models like Babbage, Ada, and some others has been discontinued by OpenAI. So we can only use these particular models that are available over here, that are the newer models and updated legacy models. So apart from that, the other models that were available previously has been discontinued, and the format of writing the entire code has been also been changed. So we need to call a particular client object with the chat completion. So this is how we write a particular code now for getting the response from the OpenAI's API. So let's try to go through this particular documentation and see what all changes it has made. So I think there are not a lot of changes in the documentation. So still what we can do is we can just go back to our VS Code, and over here what we can do is we can start writing some code using which we will be trying to fetch the data from the OpenAI's API. And inside our code, what I will do is I will write here from OpenAI import OpenAI. In the next line, what I can do is I can create a variable name client that will be the object that we are going to be using throughout our code. So by adding this particular client over here, we can add an equals to sign over here and add OpenAI. And in here, we can pass our API key that we have generated from the OpenAI's platform. So I will do API underscore key. That will be equals to, and we can copy paste this particular key that we have generated. So I will just try to add it in here in a single quotes. And after saving this particular piece of code, we have successfully added the OpenAI's API key. Just zoom in a little bit so you can see clearly. So we need to add this particular two lines to first of all import the OpenAI from the OpenAI's library, and after that we need to create an object named client that will be equals to OpenAI, and we just need to pass the API key in here as a parameter. So once we are done with that, in the next line what we can do is we can create another variable that we can name as a response that will be equals to, now we need to call the client object dot, in this particular client object we have a function called completion. I will just try to call the completion function using which we can complete a particular chat using the OpenAI's API, or a particular answer using the OpenAI's API. Now in the completion we need to add a dot and we need to write create, and inside that we're going to be adding a model name that we are going to be using. So there are different models available with the OpenAI's API. So if we go to the documentation again, over there you can see there are numerous models that are available over here. So I scroll up a little bit, you can see this is a model that we can use with the completion API. So you can see this is a legacy one, so we can use this one to complete our prompt that we provide to it. So if I just try to add this thing over here, I try to copy the name of the model from here, so you can also follow along with me with the documentation by copy pasting this name, which is GPT 3.5 turbo instruct. After that you can pass another parameter that will be prompt. So basically prompt is a question that we want to ask to our GPT model. So let's say we want to ask who is the founder of OpenAI. Let's try to ask this particular query. And one thing that missing over here is we need to add a comma after the model, so we can separate this different parameters that we are passing in here. So we need to separate them with a comma. Now we have added our prompt as well as the model. Next, we need to just try printing out something that will be the response that we get from the OpenAI's API. So basically, what we are doing over here is we are storing the output that we get from the OpenAI's API inside the response variable. And we can just try to print out the response variable to see the output that we get from the OpenAI. So what I can do is I will just try to update my API key with a working one. So we will be able to see the output of the particular prompt that we are providing over here. So now I have replaced the API key with a working API key that I have created for myself. So what I can do is I can just try to save this particular piece of code and try to execute it now. So let's see whether we get an output or not. So over here, you can see that it says cannot import OpenAI from OpenAI. Okay, I think I'm using a older version of the OpenAI API on my system. So to overcome this, what I can do is I can just do pip install -- upgrade OpenAI. So if you also get this particular issue, in that case, you can just run pip install -- upgrade OpenAI. Now it will do is it will get the latest version of the OpenAI's API and install it onto our system. Now this issue should be fixed. So if I try to run it again, now let's see whether we are getting the output for this or not. So now you can see that we are getting the output and we can see the completion. It is returning an entire, what you can say is a dictionary kind of thing in the output, where we can see we are getting ID, finish response length, index, and over here you can see we are also getting the text that says the founders of the OpenAI were Elon Musk, Sam Altman, and Greg Brockman. So apart from that, we are also getting some unnecessary data like the model use, the instruct model, text completion, and some other irrelevant data that we don't need in the output. So to get the appropriate text in the output, what we can do is we can store this output in a variable named data, in which we will be fetching the text from the output that we are getting. So we will do response dot choices. From this choices, we will be getting the 0th index, and after that I will add dot text. So it will be getting the 0th index choice from the output, and it will be storing it inside the data variable. That will be the entire text that we get as an output. So if I just try to save this, basically the choices are if a particular question have multiple answers, so we can also select from these multiple answers. So in this case, we are going to be using the 0th index because we want to get the text from the first response that we get from this OpenAI's API. So let's say a question have 2 different answers, or we are asking it to generate a essay. So it might generate 2 or 3 answers for that. In that case, we will be having multiple choices. To overcome that, we are just adding the index to 0. So we will get the appropriate text that we want. So now if I try to execute it, you will be able to see the founders of OpenAI are Elon Musk, Sam Altman, and Greg Brockman. So this is how we can fetch the data from the OpenAI's API. It's that simple. We have written over, I think, 10 lines of code to fetch the data from the OpenAI's API. You can see how simple it is to use the OpenAI's API to get the data from the OpenAI's API and interact with it. So I think that was it for this particular lesson on how to fetch the data from the OpenAI's API, creating the API key for the application. So these were the steps that you need to take to create the account on OpenAI, get the API key, and interact with it with the help of Python. I hope you were successfully able to run and execute this particular piece of code. So without further ado, let's move to the next video of our course. So in the previous video, we have created this particular piece of code using which we were able to fetch the data from our OpenAI's API. So I hope you were successfully able to create this particular application and get the data from the OpenAI's API. So you can just try to change the prompt over here and you will be getting the appropriate data that you want. So let me try to ask it a different question. What is Python programming? Let's see if it is able to give us the answer of this particular query. So over here you can see that it says Python is a high level interpreted general purpose programming language. So it is, and after that you can see we are not getting the further data that we want. So it is I think capping it to this particular characters. So what we can do is to get even more data, what we can add a comma over here, and in the next line we can add a variable name that will be max tokens equals to, and we can set it to 150. And if we just try to save the code, try to execute it again. Now let's see what type of output we will get. So you can see now we are getting a output of more than 150 characters. Previously we were getting only a little bit amount of characters. I think it was 15 or 20 characters. So now you can try to update the max tokens, and depending on the tokens that you add over here, it will be creating a larger amount of text for you in the output. So you can just set tokens over here. If you set it to 250, then it will be generating even more data from the API. So right now our application is very basic. Like you can see, we have to manually type the prompt every time. So what I want to do is now we will be trying to create a bot using which we will be interacting with our code. So I want it to continuously ask me different questions, and we will be providing the questions or the queries or the prompt using the terminal. So it should continuously ask me for different queries or prompts, and I will be giving it different prompts, and it will be acting as a chatbot. So let's try to create that now. So first of all, we need to take the input from the user. So for that, what we can do is we can create a variable name prompt that will be equals to input, and inside this we can add some text to ask the user to add a query or write a question for GPT bot, and we can add a /n, so it will be asking the input in the new line. So after storing this particular prompt or the query from the user inside the prompt variable, what we can do is we can remove this hard code question that we have hard coded in our code. So we can replace it with our prompt variable that we have created over here, so that it will be giving the prompt or the question that the user have from the terminal, take it as an input and sending it to the OpenAI's API. So after adding this particular thing in our code, let's try to save it and let's see whether it is able to give us the output to our queries or not. So let me ask, what is Java? This is my question. Let's see if it is able to fetch the data from OpenAI's API or not. So you can see Java is a high-level object-oriented programming language, and here is the entire output that it has created for us. So over here, we can also add a cap over here of around 50 max tokens. And if I try to run it again, let me try to ask a different query. What is JavaScript? Let's see if it is able to fetch the answer. And now you can see it is able to fetch the answer with around 50 characters, I think. And you can see JavaScript is a high level dynamic and interpreted programming language used to create interactive effects within web browsers and so on. So here is how we can get the output from the OpenAI's API by getting the input from the user. Now, another thing that we need to add over here is that I have told you that it should continuously ask the questions to the user like a chatbot. So for that, what we can do is over here, we can add a while loop using which it will be running the code continuously, and we will set this while loop to true. And after that, we'll just try to add this particular piece of code inside the while loop by adding an indentation. So once we are done with that, we can just try to save this particular piece of code and try to execute it now. If I try to ask it a question, who is the founder of Apple? Inc. Let's try to add this particular question, and you can see the founder of Apple Inc. is Steve Jobs. Let me ask another question, like who is the founder of Facebook? Now you can see the founder of Facebook is Mark Zuckerberg, and so on. So it is able to give us the answer with the help of the chatbot that we have created over here, and it is continuously asking for the new queries that we have for the chatbot. So here is how we can interact with this chatbot, and we can give it any input that we like, and it will be generating the output using the OpenAI's API. So this is how we can create a chatbot using it. So I hope you were successfully able to create this particular chatbot. So I hope you are really enjoying the course till here. So you can let me know if you are enjoying the course till here and you are successfully able to create your first ever AI application chatbot using the Python and OpenAI's API. So I'm looking forward to your words in the review section of this course. So I think that was it for this particular lesson. So without further ado, let's move to the next lesson of our course. Hello there and welcome back to the course. In this particular lesson, we are going to be starting with another generative AI project using which we are going to be trying to create a clone of ChatGPT with the help of Python and Flask. So we are going to be using Flask framework, that is a Python framework using which we can create web applications. For creating this particular web application, first of all, we need to open our terminal, and over there we need to type a command to install the Flask onto our system. So for that, I will type here pip install Flask, and after that I will hit enter. So it will be installing the Flask framework onto my system. So it will take few seconds to install it onto our system. Once we are done with that, and in here we can do from Flask import Flask with a capital F. So I will import this, and after that in the next line I will create a variable name app that will be equals to Flask, and inside this we are going to be passing a parameter that will be underscore underscore name underscore underscore. After adding this, we have created this particular object that is app that we can use inside our code to create different app routes. So let me show you how we can create an app route. So I can set an @ symbol, add app dot route, and after that in here we can set a route to our app. So this particular route is basically, if you have visited any website, over there in the URL section you might have seen /about us, /contact us, and /home. So similar to that, we have created this particular home route. Whenever we open our local host, in that case it will be showing us this particular page or this particular output that we will be defining inside this particular app route. So this is a basic app route that we have created over here, which is the home app route. After that, we have to define a function inside this app route for getting the output to the user. So I will name it as def hello, and inside this function we're going to be writing return. With the help of return, we can return anything onto a web application. So in the form of string, I will type here hello world. And once we are done with that, we have created our first ever app. To execute this particular app, we have to use the app.run, and in here we need to pass a particular parameter that we can set, that is debug equals to true, so that we will be able to see and debug if there is any issue with our code. So using these lines of code, we will be able to see hello world in our web browser. So after adding this, if I try to save this particular piece of code, try to execute it, and over here you can see that the Flask server is running. So if I just try to copy the URL from here and try to paste it in our web browser, so I will just try to copy this URL from here and go to our web browser. Over there I will just try to paste this, hit enter, and you can see that we are successfully able to see the output of our web app that we have created that says hello world. So this is how we can create a simple web app using Flask. So this was a simple starter boilerplate code that we have written to print this particular output to the user. Now next we are going to be adding the GPT API feature into our web application. So for that, what I will do is I will just try to make a copy of this particular piece of code, and after that I will add it over here. And in the app route, what I will do is if I go to the browser and show you that this is our home app route. So whenever we go to this particular localhost colon 5000, which is the port, and slash, if we add this thing over here, so we can add another app route inside this particular thing. So I will be adding a app route named GPT, using which we will be able to get the output from the GPT API. Let's try to add that over here. So I will add slash GPT. Similar to this, you can add n number of different routes to our application. So after adding this, we're going to be also renaming this particular app or the function over here, that will be GPT. So the functions and the app route cannot be same. So for example, the first app route is home, the second app route should be a different one with some particular text after this. So we have added a GPT over here, and we cannot define the same functions in a particular piece of code. So the first function was hello, the second function should be with a different name for the different app routes. So once we are done with that, we will just try to import OpenAI. So we will do from OpenAI, import OpenAI. So we have already created a basic app using OpenAI's API. So we already know how to initialize it. So I will create a client variable that will be equals to OpenAI. And inside this, we're going to be passing the OpenAI API key. After passing the API key, I will be adding it later on. So once we are done with that, we have successfully initiated the OpenAI's client. After that, we have to write a piece of code over here using which we will be getting the output from the OpenAI's API. So first of all, I will create a variable name response that will be equals to client dot completion dot create. So we are going to be calling this particular method to get the output from it, and we will be using the model as GPT hyphen 3.5 hyphen turbo hyphen instruct. And after adding this, we will be adding a comma and giving it a prompt. So I will type here prompt equals to, and inside this I will be passing a prompt. Let's say we want to ask what is Flask in Python. This is my query. So I want to get the output to this particular prompt. And after that, I will add another comma and I will set max token to 50. So after adding this particular things in our code, we will be able to get the output inside the response variable. Now, to get the entire text from the response variable, we will be creating a variable named data that will be equals to response dot choices, and from the 0th index we will get the dot text. And after that, I will just try to return the data in here. So after returning the data, we will be able to see the output on our web page. So if I just try to save this, and after saving, I just need to add my API key in here. So let me just try to add my API key. So after adding the API key, I can just try to save this particular piece of code. So if I just try to execute the code now, go back to the web browser. If we try to refresh the page, we will be able to see hello world over here. If I add /GPT route over here, now it should work. So you can see lightweight web framework written in Python that is used for building web application and APIs. So now you can see we have created this particular API using which we are able to get the output from the GPT's API. So this is how we can create our first ever web app using Flask that is able to fetch the data from the GPT's API. So we can change the prompt in here and we can ask different queries to our GPT API. So this is how we can create this particular application. So I hope you were successfully able to create this particular application using which we were able to fetch the data from the OpenAI's API. So I think that was it for this introduction video to Flask and GPT API and creating this particular web application using which we were able to fetch the data from the GPT API. So later on, we are going to be adding even more features to this particular code that we have created right now. So I think that was it for this particular lesson. So without further ado, let's move to the next lesson of our course.